Hello, good evening. Welcome. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live on YouTube at Desawe Kanda, also live on TV Ghana on Facebook, DSTV channel 279. We're all across the world on 3news.com. I am Alfred Ocansey. Tonight, illegal mining is big on our agenda as the Attorney General has been giving an account of prosecutions pending before the courts with respect to the menace, while the Office of the Special Prosecutor are seeking interest in Professor Kwabena Frimpong-Boateng's Galamsey report. We'll tell you all that in the conversation tonight. Also, Minority Leader Dr. Kesela Atuforcing spoke to me exclusively on the matters relating to Ghana's quest for an IMF program and also matters of Galamsey and more. Stay with me for that exclusive interview with Dr. Kesela Atuforcing. It's live here on Ghana Tonight. We'll bring you all the details. And today, as you might be aware, Parliament approved 5 loan agreements totaling over $710 million. I'll give you the details and tell you why you should be concerned. And in the meantime, as always, we are very, very interactive. You are part of the conversation that we have here on Ghana Tonight. Let's hear from you. The hashtag is Ghana Tonight on Facebook and Twitter. Let's get talking. Let's settle for Ghana Briefs. Parliament has approved a total of $710 million in 5 loan agreements at an emergency sitting. Despite resistance from the minority, the NPP majority MPs pushed through to have the loans approved for expense by the executive.
We are currently between 98 to 103% of debt to GDP ratio, of borrowing to the level of 576 billion to 600 billion Ghana cedis.
If the argument is that Parliament should be positioned to be able to trace and track the disbursement of the amounts, that is our responsibility.
President Akufo-Addo has implored the Japanese Prime Minister to convince the IMF to grant the $3 billion for Ghana. He is confident the input of the Japanese Prime Minister will facilitate the deal without delay. He was speaking during a courtesy call by the Japanese Prime Minister in Accra.
Ghana is also counting on the support of Japan in reaching a favorable agreement with the International Monetary Fund, which will pave the way for the robust recovery of Ghana's economy.
An economist at the University of Ghana Business School, Professor Lord Mensah, says the May timeline for a deal with the International Monetary Fund is not feasible. He knows the earliest will be after the mid-year budget review. President Akufo-Addo at this year's May Day parade noted the board approval for an IMF bailout after completing the necessary requirements is imminent.
There are several investors in the investor community within the Eurobond. And so for me, negotiating with these creditors in a diverse manner is going to be difficult.
A former president and NDC flag-bearer hopeful, John Dramani Mahama, says a future NDC government will conduct an investigation into allegations of military killing in Boko over the raging conflict. He gave the assurance on his campaign tour of the Upper East region ahead of the party's presidential primaries.
I wish to condemn the killing of innocent citizens by our military. Our military is supposed to protect us. We pay taxes to give them those weapons. And they're supposed to use the weapons to protect us, not to kill us. And so when we come, we would like to find out what caused the death of those people.
Ghana appears to be losing in the fight against illegal mining. At a media briefing, Chief Executive Officer of the Forestry Commission, John Alote, noted that the Commission's task force does not have the capacity to defeat cartels operating in 34 out of the over 200 forest reserves where the illegality continues.
We can give you the statistics of the number of our workers who have been attacked due to the sophistication and then better power and capacity of the illegal operators in this area.
The courtesy call on the president discussed mutual cooperation and bilateral ties. Other issues also centered on assisting Ghana to set its economy on sound footing. Currently, Ghana is before the IMF for a $3 billion bailout. The president asked the Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida to put in a word with the IMF.
Ghana is also counting on the support of Japan in reaching a favorable agreement with the International Monetary Fund, which will pave the way for the robust recovery of Ghana's economy. We've had to go to the fund for assistance in order to help repair our public finances and restore our balance of payments in the short term, whilst we continue to work on the medium to long-term structural changes that are the core of our goal of building a resilient, robust Ghanaian economy and building a Ghana beyond aid.
He again asked the Japanese Prime Minister to consider investment in the mineral sector.
Indeed, I've made it known to Prime Minister Kishida that Ghana is endowed with abundant natural resources, which my government is seeking to use as a basis to transform its economy from the current reliance on the export of raw materials into a value-adding one, with the vision of taking Ghana out of dependence on aid to a self-reliant economy.
Yeah, you heard the president asking for help from the Japanese so we can get an IMF program. Because, stay with me, I'll tell you why all these timelines for the IMF programs over the period have been missed, and why some analysts and indeed economists, the academia, who are looking into the crystal ball of this IMF program, are doubting that we may get an IMF program by the end of the month of May, which is the new timeline after the spring meetings last month. But we are the IMF because of a number of reasons, including the excessive borrowing that has led us to this point. In fact, the March 2023 Bank of Ghana Economic and Financial Data Report showed that Ghana's total debt stock as at ending of November 2022, and this is the data we got from the Bank of Ghana, it's under 575 billion cedis. That was about 93.5% of Ghana's GDP. But obviously, all things being equal, it's higher than the 575 because this was at November 2022, okay? That is 575 billion. A number of things have happened. Let's assume that even if government hasn't taken any loan, let's assume, this figure would have still gone up because we have an external debt component part of this 575 billion, which is in dollar terms. So depending on the performance of the cedi against the dollar, we have the debts going up. As we've seen that the cedi depreciates against the dollars a bit over the period, this figure will go up. That's about 93.5% of our GDP. And take note of these figures. In fact, some analysts have stated that the current debt restructuring by government will impact on the debt numbers by the end of this year, 2023. The IMF itself is projecting that Ghana's debt to GDP, the ratio will increase further to 98.7% by the end of 2023. And this was captured in the Fiscal Outlook Report, which was released at the annual IMF World Bank spring meetings last month in Washington, D.C. The IMF in that same report is also forecasting the debt to GDP ratio to reduce to 92.8% in 2024. And the underlying condition here is all things being equal. This is what's going to happen in 2024, all things being equal. And it's subject to a lot of reviews over the period. And we've seen what the IMF does with some of these figures because they put out these forecasts and sometimes governments wanton the borrowing tends to increase some of these projections. But by end of year, they are projecting 98.7%. You should be concerned about this, and I'll tell you why. Today, Parliament was recalled from recess to come and approve 5 loan agreements totaling $710 million. That is adding on to the debt stock that we have as a country. And reminder, you and I are carrying the burden of this debt. Now, many of you have said that you calculate the debt of a particular government, charge them with it so that they all pay for it before they get out of office. Well, It is about the accountability of what these monies that are taken as loans are used for. So today we went to Parliament. We got the details of these debts. This is what you see. This was what was approved by the representatives of the people, at least the majority side of Parliament. Because what we learned, so finance primary healthcare investment project, $150 million. And then the financing of the Ghana Digital Acceleration Project, $200 million. That's still an agreement. The third additional financing for the Ghana COVID-19 Emergency Preparedness and Response Project. COVID found its way there as well. $60.6 million. We're still taking loans in the name of COVID-19, and we'll get an explanation why, so stay with me. Financing of the West African Food System Resilience Program, Phase 2, $150 million. Financing of the Public Financial Management for Service Delivery Program, $150 million. That's about $710 million that we should all be concerned about. And I give you the details of what these loans we are contracting or government is contracting in our name is going to be used for. Okay. Questions have been raised about the justification for this, but bear in mind the Parliament approved this earlier today. Stay with me. Coming up, right after this quick break, we have the Minority Leader, Dr. Kaisel Atuforsing. He sat with me on Ghana Tonight in Parliament. After these loans were approved, we asked questions about the justification for these loans that have been approved and the issues about illegal mining on the back of the Professor Kobnafin Pomboateng leaked report and the Al Jazeera documentary as well. Stay with me. We'll be back shortly after this quick break. That exclusive interview is up next. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to demonstrate to you the superior properties of Flamingo Paint. As compared to other paint brands on the market, we take equal quantities of Flamingo Paint and this ordinary paint. We then dilute them with water. And now, let the test begin. The gentleman on the left is going to apply the ordinary paint, and the gentleman on my right will use the Flamingo Superior Paint. As you can clearly see, Flamingo has the obvious better hiding. Furthermore, Flamingo has painted a much larger area. You know, one bucket of Flamingo paint is equal to several buckets of any other paint brand on the market. Flamingo paint is made with superior formulation to give superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage. Flamingo paint, simply superior.
Everybody knows Acrobato. And if you know Acrobato, it means you know M-Punch Homeopathy Clinic. M-Punch Homeopathy Clinic is my pillar. Let's hear what others are saying about M-Punch Homeopathy Clinic. Who will be careful M-Punch one?
Chesena me ankasa me period no say problems wom ntina ma wo ho idea ma me papa chesena nya asem ketewa na mkwan point no mo hwe me modam no mo hwe bibia na so mo meduro me fire no ene ma won kra mienu foforo kwa na mkwan mu a eba head everything yourself
me ma me no adwodwo eda ho a wontumi nante ene ne ko end point o mama nuru a ene ne ho idea watimi asori anante.
That's end point for you.
Acrobato.
Hello.
Hey, ohwehwe what che.
Okay.
A free bra wo di end point wa dance. Am me call you no. Me Jones sema na enkoyie empeso na my emre nyina na magina sebema na me no be fie for there e ho na nyina jaresa.
You heard everything. I have secret. M-Punch is my secret. M-Punch Homeopathy Clinic. I'm free.
Last year was massive. This year, it will be the bomb. Tour du Ghana, the ultimate cycling event in the sports calendar, happening on the 20th and 21st of May 2023. Confirm your participation. Registration fee is 200 Ghana cedis for single riders, while 100 Ghana cedis goes for clubs with 10 riders or more. Your registration comes with personal accident cover, accommodation, feeding, and transportation. Start point of the tour is from the West Hills Mall, SCC to the Takrady Mall, and from Takrady to the Cape Coast Chapel Square. For more details, contact 0244 893758 or 0546 063 747. Tour du Ghana, happening on the 20th and 21st of May 2023. Be part of the excitement.
3FM Tour du Ghana is brought to you by Super Yogo.
The fishing industry in Ghana is of prime importance to the economy and the well-being of the people. Sadly, this critical industry faces a hidden threat that threatens its very existence and survival. Join us as we shine our spotlight on the canker of illegal fishing, a practice that has devastated our marine resources, depleting our fish stock, leaving our fishermen with empty nets, fish processors struggling to survive, and our communities in dire straits. We delve into safe fish handling and processing, certification and licensing schemes. We focus our sharp lenses on child labor and trafficking in fishing communities to demand accountability and responsiveness from duty bearers. Join 3 Foundations advocacy for Ghana's fisheries recovery through missions compelling and captivating advocacy. Keep an eye out on TV3. This program is under the auspices of the Feed the Future Ghana Fisheries Recovery Activity, funded by USAID, from the American people, live on News 360 and across all Media General social media platforms.
You are a major stakeholder in nation building. Your voice matters. Start your day with us.
We simplify the conversations, break down the jargons and technicalities. We keep you well informed throughout the week. Start your day with us.
Knowledge is power. We put you in the know of the happenings in Ghana and the world over. The main reason why you need to start your day with us.
We give the leaders the mandate to govern our affairs. We have a responsibility to hold them to account. It begins here. Start your day with us. Good morning, Ghana, Africa, and the rest of the wonderful world. Welcome to Sunrise on 3FM 92.7.
Start your day well informed. Start with us on Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. Catch the all-new Sunrise Morning Show with me, Johnny Hughes, Helen Apiampofo, William Asiedu,
and Noble Crosbyan.
Weekdays from 5:55 a.m. to 10 a.m. only on 3FM 92.7. Your urban lifestyle radio.
Welcome back. This is Ghana Tonight. We're live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, the SCV channel 279. We're all across the world on 3news.com. Earlier today, my colleague Komla Kluche, who's our chief parliamentary correspondent, gave details of what transpired in Parliament in terms of the debate that led to the approval of these 5 loan agreements totaling $710 million. Take a look at the debate in Parliament preceding the approval of these loans. Reason why Parliament was recalled from recess.
The MPs were summoned from the Easter break purposely for the 5 loan agreements, some of which have been outstanding since last year. The facilities are the $60.6 million as a third additional financing for the Ghana COVID-19 Emergency Preparedness and Response Project, $150 million US dollars to finance the West Africa Food Systems Resilience Program and 170 million euros for the establishment of the Development Bank of Ghana, among others. The minority side argued against the facilities, explaining government should not be borrowing in this crucial time of the economic crisis occasioned by the reckless borrowing.
The Parliament of the Republic of Ghana, represented by its 275 elected MPs, even at this age and time of unprecedented economic difficulty arising out of excessive borrowing, which comes at cost to the Ghanaian taxpayer, the Parliament of Ghana is being called upon to approve a loan amount of 150 million US dollars. Mr. Speaker, today, Ghana is not only debt distressed. We are currently between 98 to 103% of debt to GDP ratio, of borrowing to the level of 576 billion to 600 billion Ghana cedis. That this House is not minded that there must be a stop to borrowing. There must be. And this House must provide that leadership for the Ghanaian people.
The majority side explained that the facilities are all targeted at specific projects and tasks must be supported.
And is anybody arguing against this? Is anybody arguing against it? That you don't want farmers to be able to access agricultural technologies? Mr. Speaker, it's the reason why I'm saying that I can't understand. For the life of me, the import of those of them who are arguing that we should reject this facility. So, Mr. Speaker, I think that it is crystal clear what is intended to be done with and by this facility. And I believe that we should all rise in unison to support it. If the argument is that Parliament should be positioned to be able to trace and track the disbursement of the amounts, that is our responsibility.
Despite these,
Today's
the House
paper,
approved.
say aye. All against say no. I think the ayes have it.
Komla Kluche, TV3 News, Parliament House, Accra.
You've seen the argument that the majority side also advanced in favor of these loan agreements and the concerns that the minority raised about the impact of these loans on our current economic situation that we have as a country. And later, we're going to learn whether the minority MPs actually supported all of this. But Dr. Kesla Tufosing also spoke about Galamsey. Okay? Earlier today, the Attorney General, Godfrey Yeboah-Dame, gave indications that the slow pace of criminal trials and the granting of bails to illegal miners is hampering the fight against illegal mining. In fact, the AG, in an update to the publication on the status of Galamsey, disclosed a total of 119, and I'm going to put that on the screen right now, 119 criminal cases involving the prosecution of about 727 individuals for offenses connected with illegal mining are currently pending in courts across the country since January 2022. In fact, these are the details you see in the breakdown of that's the cases. Eastern region, about 50 cases. In the Western region, 33. And you take note of the Eastern region having the highest number of cases. And if you look at the Professor Boateng report details as well, a lot of the issues and the Galamsey activities captured in that particular report is happening, according to that report, in the Eastern region. And Western region, 33, Ashanti region, 23, Greater Accra region, 7, Northern, 3, and the Upper East region, 1. Now, if you recall, the attorney, that's Professor Boateng also made the point about how issues about the bail granted these persons is impacting on the fight against illegal mining. The Attorney General captures it in there as well, some of the challenges to Galamsey prosecutions, granting of bail by the court to accused persons on very lenient conditions. Now, take a look at what Professor Frimpong said in his report. He also points to the granting of bail as one of the major issues in that report as well. Then it talks about failure of arresting officers to arrest suspects on the mining site itself, the absence of or lack of court interpreters who can speak and interpret the law. This is what Professor Frimpong said. In mid-2019, the president gave the directive that all foreigners, including Chinese, who are arrested should face the Ghanaian justice system. Unfortunately, law enforcement agencies could not ensure the successful implementation of that directive. That the AG also makes reference. In fact, it says Chinese who were apprehended doing illegal mining were taken to court, granted bail, and went straight to their mining site to continue their illegalities. This is what Professor Frimpong captured in his report. Now, I want to take a listen to Dr. Kesla Tofo when I sat with him earlier today, talking about the economy and then illegal mining as well, and how this is impacting on the environment and then also the water bodies that we have in this country, and what Parliament is expected to do beyond the public discourse. Take a look. I want to find out exactly why and what the minority's position was on these loans that have been approved. I thank you so much, Dr. Kesla, for speaking to us. Now, we've seen 5 loan agreements tabled before you, and that's been approved, correct?
Correct.
What happened?
Clearly, you know the numbers in Parliament. The MPP obviously has numerical strength over the NDC. They are more than us by 1 at the moment. And because currently, as we speak, the NDC has 136 minus 1, injuncted member of Parliament, so we have 135. And they also have 137, including an independent member of Parliament, and one is deceased, so 137. So they are, you know, in a normal day, they will beat us by 1. And about 95%, in fact 99% of all what we do here is done with simple majority. So with just simple majority, you carry the day. So there are occasions that we have to try and luck, and we get to probably hear that 1 or 2 of them are out of the country, and we spring surprises on them, and probably we can carry the day. But on a normal day, when they have their numbers, we also have our numbers to do, normally carry the day. This particular loan came at a time that the NDC members of Parliament are contesting elections, okay? And the MPP knowing very well that we are contesting elections, and we have about 1.5 weeks to our elections, called for an emergency session, knowing very well that the elections are very heated, heavily contested, and so likely some of them will not be around. And so they called the meeting. Clearly, you could see that when we started, we had numbers more than them. So we knew our numbers from the beginning. And obviously, we saw the MPP numbers, that their ministers and some of them were trooping in and all of that. So in the end, they were far more than us, okay? And when the motions were called, they carried the day. But long story short, I'm surprised that the MPP has the courage to take additional loans at this critical moment. I'm surprised. And we call on the people of Ghana to join the NDC minority, the opposition, and call on this government to account.
Account for the loans?
No, not just, I mean, you see, the opposition cannot do the work alone. There are people in this country that voted for MPP. They voted for these numbers, yet they have left it only for the opposition to criticize and to point this government to the right direction. I think that is sad. We call on civil society organizations and well-meaning Ghanaians, the academia, and major institutions of state to join us in opposing this administration, because where they are taking this country to is scary. My brother, why am I saying this? We are in a major hole. And when you are in a hole, the first thing you do is to stop digging so that you don't continue going down. Unfortunately, this government will not stop digging. Today I said that Ghana probably will enter the Guinness Books of Records for being a country that has defaulted in the repayment of its debt, external and domestic, a country that is insolvent, a country that is bankrupt as we speak, and yet they want to add to the public debt. Today alone, Ghana considered and approved loans worth $710 million US.
That's going to add to our debt.
Approximately 9 billion Ghana cedis that will add to the debt. Approximately 9 billion Ghana cedis that will add to the debt. But I ask myself, what are we using this money for? So you see, and when you speak, some of them say, oh, it's World Bank loan and it's concessional. Please, it's not true. It's not concessional because you see, concessional loans are loans that meet 35% minimum concessionality. Some of these loans get only 26% concessionality.
So it does not
so
pass
it's
to
not
be
a concessional loan.
loan.
Yes, one of them is a concessional loan, but the majority of them are not concessional. They are 25, less than some of them 25% concessionality. It doesn't meet the minimum concessionality of 35%. Aside that, whether concessional loans or non-concessional loans, we should be careful where we channel this money to, because in the end you repay. These loans are not grant, they are not free money. Even if someone gives you grant, you have to put it into proper use. But these loans, where the loans are going
So I see one for the establishment of the Development Bank Ghana.
No, that is not a loan. That is a loan we have already contracted, and for some reason, government has decided to on-lend to Development Bank Ghana. So those are not part of the 710. In fact, if I'm to add that one, to take us to 880 million.
So this 170 million...
It's an on-lending agreement.
It's not even part of the 710 we are talking about. So I see the financing of the primary healthcare investment project.
Exactly.
That's $150 million.
Exactly. So you see, so if you look at the primary healthcare investment program, for instance, first of all, the name suggests that the government is going to build hospitals or buying equipment. But majority of this are for the purposes of consultancy. Consultancy services. Chunk, go and look at the loans, consultancy. Chunk of this money is going to consultancy. Okay, and if you take another 150 million for public financial management systems, PFM, chunk, and I can confirm to you that that 150 million US dollars going to public financial management system, about 95% is going to consultants and capacity buildings.
In fact, the justification for this,
people to go for courses abroad and all of that. That is what it is for.
The justification for this, they say, is because COVID-19 exposed the gaps in the national response to public health emergencies, especially the preparedness for primary healthcare systems to respond to emergencies.
You see, this is not the first time we are taking COVID loans. Government decided to hide behind COVID-19 and contracted massive amount of debt, massive amount of public debt. Have you asked yourself how this money was used? Yes, there were gaps, but is it the time? Is it the time for us to address these gaps? Yes, there are issues that we need to address it, but not at the time that the country has defaulted in repayment of its debt. Not at the time that we can't repay our debt. We have, in fact, public debt has suffocated this economy to the extent that as a result of our unsustainable debt, inflation is hitting the roof. Our city is depreciating at a rapid rate. In fact, our country's economy is failing to grow. We will struggle to get 2% growth this year.
2% growth?
2%. We'll struggle to get 2% GDP growth this year. We'll struggle. And I'm telling you, we'll struggle.
And that is way below what the finance minister projected in the 2023
just
budget.
Like last year, they projected something and we got lower than that.
So you are projecting that
up to about 2%.
About 2% GDP growth rate by end of the year.
Max, you see, and let me also say this to you. Have you noticed that Ghana is still struggling to get an IMF program? The president came to Parliament, promised us that he's going to get us a deal by March.
By March.
I said that it's not going to happen. March gone, April gone, we are now in May.
Yes, the finance ministry says that by end of month.
Oh, it's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen?
No way.
We're not getting an IMF deal.
It's not going to happen.
By end of May?
It's not going to happen. I mean, I urge our minister responsible for finance to be truthful to the people of Ghana and be candid enough to say that, yes, the timelines, I said A, B, and C, but we can't make it. The earliest will be beginning third quarter.
Third quarter?
Beginning third quarter, July, August. That's the earliest.
You were at the spring meetings?
Oh, yeah. I attended them around.
You went there. Now, the sense we got from the communication from the finance ministry was that all was well. The external creditors, were getting some level of understanding. The IMF itself was also, as it were, making interventions for Ghana to get a deal as soon as possible. So what is holding this IMF approval?
The world does not want Ghana to fail. We are a very bright spot in the sub-region and in Africa. No one wants to see Ghana crash. Notwithstanding that, there are things we need to get right. We need to get our external creditors to give us what we call financing assurances. These financing assurances are delaying for a reason.
What are those reasons?
Some of the reasons are the fact that you need to give them your intentions of how to, some of the loans, those ones that the amount of haircut they are giving, you are giving away, and what you intend to do in terms of repayment and all of that. Okay. I can confirm to you, and take it from me, that this month, Ghana will not be able to get a board approval from the IMF.
What are the implications of a situation like this?
It's terrible. I mean, we don't wish that. We don't wish that for our country. We want Ghana to do well. We want to inherit a good economy. We want to come to government and be able to do what we have promised the people of Ghana. But unfortunately, this is a government that has run the Ghanaian economy aground to a point of no return. It will take us years. They themselves have announced that it will take us up to 10 years for Ghana to recover. And clearly, we are today in the year 2023. The numbers looks like 2013. That is what it is. And 10 years before we get back to where we have to get back to. So they have raised all the gains. International image of the people of the Republic of Ghana is gone. The reputation that has been built over the years is completely gone. Completely gone. This is a country that everybody loves. This is a country that was once seen as the hope for Africa. Today, we've now become a laughingstock, and people are referencing Ghana as a country that has defaulted, and unfortunately, a case study that Africa has never seen before.
So it is on record that all the minority MPs who were present today in the House voted against all these 5 loan agreements?
Oh yes. I mean, the proceedings of the House are there for everybody. I raised all the critical issues. We opposed it. We called. We used voice votes. We opposed it, and they were more than us. And they carried the day.
Because I see, for instance, what was the justification for this $60.6 million third additional financing for the COVID-19 emergency preparedness and response project? Why is this in there at this time? And I'm talking about the timing specifically because, as you mentioned earlier, we've talked a lot about the loans that we have taken in the name of COVID-19 and the expenditure that has been incurred in the name of COVID-19.
My brother, we oppose this loan. In fact, this is a loan that we defeated in the last parliament before we went on recess. We defeated this. They brought it back using our rules and brought it back and got it through. The kind of courage they have to even contemplate in bringing this magnitude of debt to the people of Ghana again, at a time that our debt is in excess of 100% of our GDP. Simply put, if you sell the whole country, our GDP, the whole GDP, the output of Ghana, is not enough to repay our debt. That's what it is.
That's a total
output.
Goods and services produced in this country,
the entire country.
Over 1 year.
It's not enough to repay our debt. Our debt today is about 103% of our GDP. Okay? And when you are confronted with a situation like that, where you are not in a position to repay your debt, you have to put the brakes. Let me tell you another thing that probably you are not aware. The entire tax revenue we raise in this economy is not enough to service our debt and to pay for wages and salaries. It's not enough. In fact, you require over 50% of your revenue only to service your interest. Interest only, over 50%. So I think the numbers are almost about 62%. And then if you are to add amortizations, debt repayment itself, you are hitting close to 80%. That, the remaining 20% is not enough to pay the wages and salaries of government workers.
Would you recommend a ceiling or capping for borrowing by government at this time?
Okay, so, and that is why some of us want the IMF program to start early, because the IMF program itself will impose some ceilings.
Ceiling on borrowing?
Yes, certainly, particularly on non-concessional borrowings. The IMF program in itself would do that. But let me make this point also. I think Ghana has missed a golden opportunity to correct the mess that this economy has gone through under President Akufo-Addo.
What do you mean?
This year, or beginning last year, couple of things, the president should have done a couple of things. One, get rid of the team at the Ministry of Finance and Economic Management team entirely. Bring in a new set of people, communicate to the people of Ghana that, hey, here is where we are. We require a combination of sacrifice from the people of Ghana and government to have it done. 3, government should lead by example by cutting expenditure and reduce size of government. 4, and call on the people of Ghana to go for sacrifice. And so the people of Ghana will now have the encouragement to also sacrifice. And 5, and most importantly, they should have done a surplus budget in the year 2023 and not a fiscal deficit of in excess of 5%. That surplus budget will mean that Ghana will reduce its participation in the T-bill market. That in itself will bring the debt down and reduce the interest rate, particularly on the T-bill rate, and then the economy will reset and inflation will come down from that level. And subsequently, government has intensified their borrowing appetite, and as a result, the T-bill rate has started coming up again. And I can assure you that if this doesn't stop, by the end of the year, we'll get back to where we were beginning of the year.
So we saw a drop from 33 thereabout to about 19 or 91.
It went to about 15, 16, and it's now 19 going and going to 20. So we are still getting there. But let's also note that the rate is also not going up at that rapid rate because the government is relying on Bank of Ghana for financing. The central bank is printing for them. And because central bank is printing for government expenditure, government, for instance, if they had to borrow, let's say, 1 cedi to finance the budget for month 1, they are borrowing 50 pesos from the commercial side, from the T-bill rate, because the long end is shut, and then they'll go to the central bank and borrow another 50 pesos to make the 1 cedi. So this is what is happening. And now that, as part of the IMF program, they will have to stop, the central bank will have to stop printing for government. That will mean that government is going to intensify its activities in the T-bill market, and that will drive the rates to a point of no return.
And talk about the DDEP, it's done. And then you raise concerns about the state of affairs of the banking sector now, the impact that this DDEP has had on the banking sector. I recall talking to the Association of Banks president who made the point that they had to necessarily support this because of the greater picture of supporting the economy. Will the 15 billion financial support fund cushion all the financial institutions that took part in this enough?
No. In fact, I met with the Association of Bankers before they signed on to the DDEs. And clearly, their position was they are ready to sacrifice profitability, but they are not ready to sacrifice their solvency. And as a result, they went ahead and signed on to the DDE. In itself, they have contributed something to the economy. But let me say this. The entire DDE aimed at one thing: transferring wealth from private sector to the public sector. Or in other words, transferring the burden public sector insolvency to private sector insolvency. That's the aim. Because you had a government that is bankrupt and insolvent and is unable to repay its debt. Now, that government is saying, because I can't repay, you are the one who owes me. I can't also pay you or reduce the coupons. So government is taking your money and not giving it back to you. So government has only transferred or shifted the burden of insolvency to the private sector. That is all what they've done. So I'm not surprised that the banks are going down. In fact, I care most and get worried most about local banks. Those banks without parent. The orphan ones, the local ones, they are orphan ones. You see, so those banks that has parent, like the APSA and EcoBank, and because they are multinationals, they have parents sitting somewhere. They are subsidiaries, so they have parent. But if you have GCB, that is the parent government of Ghana, they have no parent. I mean, NIB, they are orphan, they have no parent. The, what do you call it, Merchant Bank, or what do you call it? UMB and all of them, they don't have parents. So who is going to pay back, capitalize them? There are issues. The banks in the year 2022, last year, made losses of 15 billion cedis 1 year. Some of them has negative, capital adequacy ratio. Negative, some of them. In fact, I cry for CBG, Consolidated Bank of Ghana, CBG. They made losses of 2.8 billion Ghana cedis 1 year. GCB, they made losses of 1.8 billion Ghana cedis and counted. The mighty GCB is even shaking. And that is why I called for a national discourse on this matter. We need to take our domestic bank issue very seriously as a country, particularly the local ones. We need to take them seriously because those are the ones that support SMEs. They are the ones that, apart from supporting SMEs, help us drive growth in the micro, medium-sized enterprise space. They are the ones. And we can't sit down for our banks to be left orphan and not be doing well. No, we have to assist them.
Leader, let's end with illegal mining. The aftermath of the leak of Professor Alfred Ocansey's 36-page report has, as it were, revived the conversation about the commitment to the fight against illegal mining in this country. Now, beyond the public discourse for you, what has to be done to give effect to the details of this report that has been made public?
Okay. Aside Professor from Pomboaten's report, there is this Al Jazeera Alistair's thing.
Yes.
That alleges that an amount of gold worth $40 million are smuggled out of our shores every day. Today, courtesy the IMF and the World Bank, we have been informed that our reserves has been depleted completely, to the extent that our reserves is around 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Okay, 2-point-something weeks. That's about 2 weeks. And I think they are even charitable because what I see worse things because some of the things that they have classified as reserves, including the Petroleum Holding Fund, is not available to government. Okay, the Heritage Fund is not available, so it's encumbered. And if you take it out, we have no net international reserves. I mean, largely. These are things that we could easily use to build reserves and buffers for this country. Yet the money is smuggled away. You should be interested in. I should be interested. And if you care about this country, you should be interested in. And I'm sure people in government are interested in this matter. Parliament cannot sit on concern. Today we signaled the fact that we are going to engage, or let me put it this way, we in the minority will start processes, will begin or initiate a process that will bring the matter back to the floor of Parliament, and will call on the House to constitute a bipartisan probe into this matter. Bipartisan probe. So it's something that we are going to start. As to when we will do it, we are still consulting, and it's our hope that Parliament is due to come back on the 30th, and probably we may do it when we come back. And it's our hope that that will be done in due course.
Let's see, but for this Al Jazeera, you call for a national probe sort of on this.
See, that is why I said there are two issues. The first one is Professor Frimpong Boateng's report, and the second one is the Al Jazeera master of the documentary. Professor Frimpong Boateng's report is a big matter, very big matter. You can't allow it to die unattended to. And that clearly means that we are not a serious country. In fact, it is a matter that should be of concern to you and to every Ghanaian that cares about the future of this country. Our water bodies are being destroyed, our forests going, our environment dying. We have no future as a country. All because people in officialdom are benefiting from it and are engaged in illegal mining, according to Professor Frimpong Boateng's report. Do you think we should keep quiet? No. 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 Posterity will never forgive us. We in the NDC strongly believe that this is a matter that requires public attention. We need to have a probe in this matter. We need to get Professor Frimpong Boateng to speak to the matter publicly. We need to invite those that have been cited in the report to come and speak to the matter. We need to get a proper report, to hear this matter publicly so that the average Ghanaian knows what to do. That should not end there. We should end by having a major recommendation so that Ghana can have a handle on the use of our natural resources. Because as we speak, we have no handle on our national resources. And no country can ever prosper if you have no handle on your natural resources. Can you go to China and engage in mining there?
Obviously not.
Illegal mining to destroy their water bodies? You get people from different countries that comes here just to mine indiscriminately, do things whatever they want to, and take the gold away, smuggling it out of your shores with nobody's view? No. This country, something is certainly wrong with our country. Something is certainly wrong. This can't be done in isolation. There are people certainly in officialdom that is shepherding them through this path of unrighteousness. And obviously, we can't sit aloof and unconcerned. So for us, we have designed policies and programs enough to rescue this country in the year 2025. We believe the NDC has solution for some of these things. But we can't sit and wait until they destroy everything before we come back to office in 2025. We want them to start it again now. We want to see that some of these issues are being resolved as we speak. Because if we allow and we sit unconcerned, by the time we take office in 2025, the country will be gone completely. And all what the president could do after it became a matter of public concern was to refer the matter to the CID. Oh my God.
You don't trust the CID?
Oh my God. Oh my God. We have a problem.
It's a criminal investigation department of Ghana Police.
We have a problem. You see, it should go beyond just investigation. You see, you are the government, you are the president. The people involved, some of them are in your offices. Crack the whip. Crack the whip. Immediately. Because he is the same person who said that he's ready to put his presidency on the line.
In cracking the whip, what would you have expected him to do, for instance?
Oh, I can tell him what to do. I'm not president of the Republic of Ghana, but he knows what he has to do. But let me tell you, he said he's ready to put his presidency on the line. Yeah. First, he should have resigned because he has failed.
We're expecting the president to resign.
But am I the one who said that? He said it. So he should go. Okay? He should resign. On the back of that. This is a major indictment on the government of President Nana Akufo-Addo.
Dr. Kesela, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. They are going to push for a parliamentary probe into this matter of Professor Kwabena Frimpong Boateng, and then we know that the Office of Special Prosecutor has also given indication that they are looking into the details of this report. But at a media briefing earlier today, Chief Executive Officer of the Forestry Commission, John Alote, noted that the Commission's task force does not have the capacity to defeat cartels operating in 34 out of the 200 forest reserves where the illegality of galamsey continues. Take a look.
The red is an area where we have active illegal mining activity happening. And these are areas where the Forestry Commission is finding it very difficult to deal with the illegal operators. They are in large numbers. They have large number of machines, and they've recruited armed security. So whilst you have a team working in the night, you have another set of team carrying arms, most of the time AK-47, and guarding those who are working. And I would like to also explain that most of these weapons that they are carrying are not the weapons that the Forestry Commission can contest with. They are carrying AK-47 that can travel about 3 kilometers. Whilst the weapons we are having, the semi-automatic, can only go about 300 meters. So what it means is that to be able to fight these guys, you have to get closer to them, at least within 300 meters, to be able to deal with them. Meanwhile, from 3 kilometers away, they can shoot you. And we can give you the statistics of the number of our workers who have been attacked due to the sophistication and then better power and capacity of the illegal operators in this area. Out of the 16 regions have been experiencing some form of illegal mining in those regions. Out of this, 34 reserves have been affected. These are areas where you have significant illegal mining. The total area that has been mapped is about 4,722 hectares. That means that 4,722 hectares of forest land has been.
Forestry Commission indicating their inability to deal with this matter because of their task force strength in forest reserves. The minister himself, Samuel Jenapo, also spoke at this same media briefing earlier today. I want us to take a listen to him.
Win this fight if we begin to pick and choose and say because this person is a minister or that person is that, the person can be involved in illegalities and the person will be allowed to go scot-free. That will not work. The law must be blind to those kinds of considerations. And I think that it should be so for all other crimes. You saw from the presentation that the Forestry Commission CEO is giving that measures are being put in place to be able to deal with the red spots. And the ministry got a commission to undertake that tedious, rigorous work of going into the forest reserves of our country, classifying the various infractions and determining which one of them are green, as he said, and green being what they are able to manage, which ones are yellow, and yellow being those that they are able to manage largely, and the red are those that they are having challenges with.
So it is an issue that is still on our radar here on Ghana Tonight. In the coming days, we'll get into other aspects of this that you definitely would want to know. But let's end today with Today in History. Or you find more on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. On behalf of the rest of the team, thank you for staying with us here on Ghana Tonight. Join us same time tomorrow. I am Alfred Ocansey. Have a good night.
Ghana Tonight is brought to you by Flamingo Paint. Superior durability, superior hiding, superior coverage, simply superior.